Hey everybody, Z here, representing Six Pack Productions with the first of the pregame show, which is basically what I had in mind from the very beginning when I wanted to start putting content on YouTube, which is me and potentially some friends, a few people know what's going on, having a couple drinks, getting ready to go out, and in the time leading up to it, just kind of shooting the shit. So, like last time, let's jump right in. That's a really good one. I mentioned in the last video that I found a new bottle that is quickly moving up the rankings. And I'm going to go ahead and show it now. Back up a little bit. So this is Old Forester. It is a rye. Moving out of the range of the camera. Never had it before. Was never really a big fan of rye. Always been more of a bourbon guy, but I don't know. I decided to change things up a little bit. That is a 100 proof. It's an overproof rye. I was able to pick it up for about $25. It was on sale, though. That was part of why I went for it, as opposed to any of the other brands. So, depending on where you are in the U.S., you're probably going to look more in the realm of 30. I did have one, and I'll probably pour myself one just neat before I go out. Pretty good choice. If you're looking for something new to drink, I would highly suggest that. Now, like I said, this is a pre-game to a night out goofing off that I wanted to do on the weekends to talk about basically what happened the previous weekend or anywhere else in the time leading up to it. Except today's kind of weird, so we'll see how it goes because it's Sunday. All right, I have the little itch there. Okay, hopefully that'll get me to stop twitching now. Yeah, it's Sunday, so normally I would not be in this position. I would be getting ready for bed, to wake up early in the morning, work out, etc. Go to work just like anybody else with a 9 to 5. But this weekend happens to be Veterans Day. That's coming tomorrow here in the U.S. And I took the day off so that I could go to a local venue that, by all accounts, is pretty packed on Sundays. I think it's like a service industry type night. I'll find out when I go. I've never actually tried this one out. So all the bartenders and servers in the area, because I live in a nightlife area in my city, they're working hard Friday, Saturday, Sunday during the day. They're finally coming into some time off. This is their opportunity. But that's just the build-up. I mean, for you guys out there watching, it's kind of irrelevant. So let's just jump into the fun that can be had, maybe some lessons that I can teach you. First of all, I'm going to be drinking this the whole time. Made that a whiskey sour using that rye. And it has been absolutely delicious. And that's something that's always been in my brain. I've been working on that skill for a long time, specifically mixology, being able to make quality drinks that can be made relatively quickly, whether it's a single drink or a batch for a couple friends, or you're bringing a date back to your place. Because a lot of people don't know how to do that, because they'll have, the average guy is going to have a case of beer, he's going to have a bottle of vodka and some orange juice or cranberry juice, and a bottle that's ready to just get poured into a shot, like Fireball or Jaeger. I'm not opposed to any of those things, but if you want to elevate that to a degree that most people can't match, you have to learn a few recipes. I think that's really critical if you're going to be someone who is out there in the dating market, particularly. and you want to get a girl back to your place, there are few ways to do it that match being able to put together a well-balanced, high-quality cocktail, because that's going to beat just telling a girl at the club, hey, let's go back to my place, I have a case of Miller Lite. Well, congratulations. You and 50 other guys that are at that venue. You have to differentiate yourself. And look, again, it's a whiskey sour. This isn't anything wild, where you need 7 ingredients to get shit rolling. It's a matter of precision, it's a matter of quality, and it's a matter of knowing what's happening and understanding it. The reason that I ended up taking this route was many years ago, was actually my college age, where I started to drink. I didn't drink before college, not at all in high school, or obviously before that. So, I'm in my late teens, and I go, you know what? I want to understand this a little bit more. So I grew more interested in the chemistry of it, basically. What makes a drink taste good? And that led me down the path of coming up with different shots, different mixed drinks, occasionally a punch, something you can make in a big bowl for people to share. Going, you know what, if this is something I'm going to be doing for the long haul, then I want to be someone who actually knows what's going on, and not a guy who just takes whatever someone else poured for him and take their word for it that it's going to be delicious. And that's something that I have to venture out and recommend all men do. If you drink, and if you don't drink, I suggest to watch the channel. I'm not only going to talk about alcohol, but if you drink, you're going to get some good content out of this, because I'm going to show you guys how to elevate that game a little bit. For this one, I'm not doing anything complicated. It's a whiskey, in this case a rye. You could occasionally go with a bourbon. In fact, I would prefer a bourbon 9 times out of 10, but I'm experimenting with this new one, and it is certainly paying off. You want to be able to make your own sour mix. If you're in a time crunch, most grocery stores that have alcohol mixers, different booze-related products, they'll have a whiskey sour mix. But I actually bought one recently, and the first thing you can see on that bottle, I actually have it in the fridge still, is high fructose corn syrup. So that is a product that if you were to build the drink on raw ingredients, would use no corn, but if you buy it from the store, it's going to be the second most common item in the glass. And that to me seems a little insane. So you make your own sours mix, and you do that with just water and sugar. You bring the water to a boil, you add sugar. You can do it at a 1-to-1 ratio. That's the standard. You can alter that a little bit to taste. Experiment. See what works for you. Get a juice press and a couple lemons. Make it fresh. Again, you can buy a bottle of lemon juice, but we're trying to set ourselves apart. So you don't even need to grab anything expensive. For my home bar, I just have this hand-pressed juicer for lemons and limes. I think it cost me $7 or $8. Use it, fill it up. It's got measurement along the side. You're ready to go. So you have the bases. Again, you have your whiskey. You have your ice. That's really the only way that I'm making this one stand out, is with an ice sphere. Now, the reason you want to use a spherical ice in a drink like this, as opposed to just a couple ice cubes, if you have the option, is that the transfer of heat is going to occur based on surface area, the rate of change in temperature. With a sphere of ice, it's going to be the slowest to melt, as opposed to a cube of equal volume. Yes, I am going to get that geeky, and anytime I talk about alcohol, this eventually some sort of chemistry or math term is going to come up, so pardon me. So the sphere ice is going to melt at the slowest rate due to the difference in surface area versus a cube or any other shape. So, what does that mean for us? It means that the taste of the cocktail as you build it is going to stay at that level for the longest period of time, as opposed to another drink that's going to start to water down more quickly. And if the alcohol is an essential part of the flavor, you don't want to lose that. So there's a trick for you right up front. Should be fun. Now, the last thing that I would say is, if you're going to do it, if you're going to look up a recipe, look it up, try it out. Don't skip an ingredient just because it seems expensive or inconvenient. Not if you're trying to have a high-end home bar. And in this case, I would say it's inconvenience more than expense that leads to a lot of people missing their bitters. So this is your standard Angostura bitters. This bottle, which is a larger one, 200 mLs, ran me a little under $15. A lot of people skip that. They'll say that it's basic, it's really not necessary, but it adds a lot to it. Again, the minor details are going to set you apart from someone who's throwing in one liquor and one mixer versus someone who's bringing a whole experience together. And that's going to elevate your game when you are hosting parties, when you are inviting girls back to your place, even if you're just hanging out at home, football game, baseball, hockey, whatever your preferred is, comes on the TV, and you just want to have something you're going to be able to enjoy a bit more. The nuance is critical. In fact, let's rewind that a little bit. I've made a couple of vague references to this appealing to women in different ways. That's something I've learned time and time again works out. That if you can put a high quality, high-end cocktail together, that girl is going to at least see that you have a competence in this field that the average guy doesn't have. And in my experience, sometimes women have a huge level of respect for competence. A lot of times, when it comes to men and women, we talk confidence. We talk, well, if you want girls to like you, one of the first things you should do is be more confident. I mean, that's not only something guys tell each other, it's one of the few pieces of advice that men and women will agree on. Even a feminist, if you ask her, will say, well, you have to be more confident. It's more attractive. The flaw to that, and it's 99% correct. I would never tell someone to be less confident. But you do have to be able to back it up with competence. Otherwise, you're just kind of a dick. If you have all the confidence in the world, but you lack the ability to actually do anything, people are either going to say you're a fake or you're an idiot. It reminds me when I was learning to drive. My dad taught me how to drive, and I recall a particularly bad attempt. It was the first time he took me to drive on a highway, like an interstate where you could go 50, 60 miles an hour. And I had to switch lanes a couple times to keep us on the track to get to where we were going. And I was feeling a little nervous and anxious dealing with this high speed and other vehicles. And I changed lanes a bit later than I should have. Everyone was fine, no incident, but man, my old man was screaming at me. And a long argument ensued that ended with me saying, Dad, if you continue to act like this, if you're yelling at me like this, I'm going to have no confidence when I'm behind the wheel. And his immediate response, and I keep this sort of lesson with me now, is him saying, I don't give a shit if you're confident behind the wheel. I just need to know you can drive a car. You could be overconfident. You cannot be overcompetent. You can't be too good at something, but you can think you're better at something than you actually are. And that's a lesson that can carry you very far in life. With, obviously with this, just boozing it up, it's less critical. But if you're going to tell someone that you can put a good whiskey sour together, you better be able to do it. So put in the work first for whatever it is that you're going to declare as your skill before you go bragging about it. Now, that's a bit of a long-winded way to just say, if you're going to try and impress a girl by telling her that you know something that the average person doesn't know, or you have a skill that sets you apart, practice the skill too. Don't just talk shit. Yeah, a lot of times, if the girl likes you enough, you could just throw a couple ice cubes in a glass, a little vodka, a splash of orange juice, and color her impressed, because she's going to like you no matter what. But it could set off a red flag if you don't. And when it comes to these recipes in particular, it's a great way to go. Because if you're out at night, like I'm going to be in a couple hours, it pays to have this sort of thing to fall back on. When you're chatting a girl up and you're trying to shift things from the bar to your home, to be able to say, well, let's go back to my place because I can make a drink that's as good as what these bartenders putting together, and I can do it without us each shelving out $13 a piece, or whatever the cost might be in your area. That kind of stuff works. You know, it taps into this premise, and I'm going to do a whole video about this specifically, of plausible deniability. You know, you have to give a girl a reason to go home with you that she can tell her friends in case someone asks her, why did you go home with him? As opposed to her just going, well, you know what, I really just wanted to sleep with a stranger. That's usually not going to fly, unfortunately. We do still live in a society where a woman can get shamed for something like that, even if within context it's completely fine. So it's your responsibility as a man to present her with, oh, I didn't go to sleep with him. I went because he had this really impressive home bar and I was curious to try something new. And you have to keep the whole story going. And that's why you have to know what you're doing. For me, it's booze. For you watching this, it might be that you play guitar. It might be that you paint. It might... Look, it doesn't matter ultimately what it is. But you have to have something you can present. And you have to have competence and confidence working together to make that really work. Or else you're just going to come off to some extent as phony. And in today's society, even the slightest hint that you're lying to a girl in order to sleep with her can get you in a lot of trouble. So, I don't know. Hopefully that advice helped you guys out. I am going to do a video, I think tomorrow, where I'm going to go over the exact setup of my own home bar and the advice that I can give to guys out there who want to do the same. I am going to continue to do these shows. They're usually not going to be on Sundays or Mondays. They're usually going to be Fridays or Saturdays, so please keep an eye out for it. YouTube basics, as I say now. Please like, share, subscribe. Leave a comment in the video for something that you think that I should be talking about, something I can do to improve the quality of the content. And gentlemen, have a good night. Stay safe, get drunk, get laid. Enjoy yourselves. This is Z with Six Pack Productions. Peace out.